What if the key to revitalizing our regions wasn't buried in financial plans or new factories, but was actually hiding in plain sight, in our art galleries, our cultural festivals, our local tour guides? Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful idea: how creativity can drive real, sustainable change from the ground up.
And really, that's the big question, isn't it? What if the artists, the storytellers, and the local tourism pros in our communities are actually the unsung heroes holding the key to a smarter, greener, and more innovative future? So here's our roadmap. We'll start by digging into the challenge itself. Then we'll uncover a really cool creative and green solution. After that, we'll see it in action with some amazing real-world examples, get our hands on the tools you can use, and finally, connect all of that back to how it can create real policy change.
Okay, first up, the transformation challenge. Because, before we can talk about solutions, we got to get real about why so many fantastic cultural and tourism businesses just seem to hit a wall.
And this is so important because we're not talking about some tiny niche industry here. We're talking about the cultural and creative industries, or CCIs. Think local museums, design studios, music venues, tour operators. These small and medium-sized businesses are the very heart and soul of a region's identity and its economy. They are absolutely crucial for driving sustainable change.
So why do they get stuck? Well, it usually boils down to these 5 big roadblocks. First, policies are all over the place. The digital plan has no idea what the green plan is doing. The incredible innovative power of these creative businesses, totally overlooked. They struggle to find funding that actually makes sense for them, and there are huge gaps in the skills they need to thrive. And the result? They get left out of the big regional innovation plans, just on the sidelines. But what if there was a way to start knocking down those barriers, one by one? This brings us to a really powerful solution, a project that was designed from day one to tackle these exact problems head-on.
At the very core of this solution is an idea called DGC competences. Now, this isn't just another buzzword, I promise. It's a simple but powerful framework that's all about blending 3 key areas: digital skills, green knowledge, and creative thinking. And the real magic, the real innovation happens right where those 3 circles overlap.
And this is where the hero of our story comes in, the Capacity2Transform project, or C2T for short. Its entire mission was to build up these DGC competencies in businesses and communities all across Central Europe.
And it's so important to mention that this incredible, ambitious work was all made possible through the Interreg Central Europe program. It's an initiative that's all about supporting this exact kind of cooperation across borders to make innovation happen.
All right, enough theory, right? Let's see what this actually looks like on the ground. This is where the rubber meets the road, with some incredible pilot projects that put these DGC competencies into practice. First, let's head over to Italy. Their pilot project, called La Velocità, tackled a challenge that pretty much every city is facing. How do you build a better, more sustainable biking culture? But instead of just having the city planners decide everything, they invited everyone to the table.
And this was the secret sauce. By bringing regular citizens and creative professionals together to truly co-create, the solutions they came up with were deeply rooted in what the community actually wanted and needed. It wasn't just about painting a few new bike lanes, it was about building a shared vision for how their city moves.
Okay, next stop, Austria. They took a totally different path with their Innovation Regatta, a high-energy hackathon focused on solving real-world sustainability problems. The genius move here was building a bridge between the university and local businesses. Students got priceless, hands-on experience, and the companies got a fresh injection of new ideas. I mean, talk about a win-win.
And for our final example, let's pop over to Slovakia and their Building Bridges pilot. This one was centered around a historic manor house in a rural area, bringing together a really diverse group of experts.
And what they did here was just brilliant. They proved that a historic building isn't just a relic to be preserved behind glass. It can become a living, breathing hub for environmental innovation. They even set up beehives as part of their green strategy. This got the whole community fired up and showed that our heritage and our future can be powerful partners.
So, these pilots prove it works. That's awesome. But the big question is, how can other communities do this too? Well, that brings us to the really practical part of the story, the actual tools developed by the C2T project that anyone can use to get started. Tool number 1, and this is the foundation for everything, is the C2T competence framework. The best way to think about this is like the master blueprint. It lays out exactly what knowledge, skills, and attitudes are needed to make this kind of transformation happen.
It breaks everything down into those digital, green, and creative categories we've been talking about. It gives you simple templates so businesses can see where they're strong and where they need to grow, and it provides clear guidelines for training and planning. It's incredibly practical.
So, what can you actually do with it? Well, you could use it to design a training program for your local tourism businesses, or to see how your entire region stacks up. You could even use it to build these DGC ideas right into your big picture development plans to make them way more effective.
Now, beyond the framework, the project created 2 other game-changing resources. First, the Transferability Guidelines, which is basically a step-by-step playbook for taking these successful pilots and adapting them to your own unique region. And second, the Knowledge Factory, which is a way for people to learn from each other, share what works, and build a lasting community. Together, these 3 tools are a full-on empowerment kit.
And that brings us to our final and maybe most important step. We've seen the local wins, we've seen the practical tools, but how do we make this the new normal? This is all about scaling up, moving from these inspiring one-off projects to lasting, system-wide change.
And here it is, the single most important takeaway for anyone in a position to make decisions. The success of these pilots sends a loud and clear message. Policy has to change. It needs to weave these digital, green, and creative skills into every training program, unlock funding that actually encourages different sectors to work together, and finally, recognize the creative industries for what they truly are, absolute engines of innovation.
So we end right where we started, but now we have the proof. We've seen what's possible when you combine digital, green, and creative thinking on purpose. The question is no longer if creativity can solve our biggest challenges. The real question is, what incredible transformation could your region be the one to spark?